Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report on NTD News. I'm Alina Weisskopf, filling in for Steve Lance today. Paving the way for a fresh pile of documents, President Biden signs legislation to declassify intelligence on COVID origins. NTD's Iris Tao has more from the White House.
After staying undecided for 10 days, President Biden on Monday night finally signed off on legislation to declassify intelligence on COVID origins.
He believes strongly that we've got to find the roots and the origins of COVID so that we can prevent a future pandemic.
In a statement, Biden says he shares the Congress's goal of releasing as much information as possible about the origin of COVID, adding that we need to get to the bottom of this. The bill, now a law, will declassify all information on the potential links between the Wuhan Institute of Virology and the origin of COVID. Specifically, it will publicize the names and symptoms of researchers at the Wuhan lab who fell sick in 2019. But the bill is becoming law doesn't mean that American public will see everything the U.S. government has found. Redactions will be made to prevent harm to national security, and the White House on Tuesday getting challenged on that need. But it insists that there needs to be a balance.
Some of that has to be in a classified way right now, but it's always a balance between the public's right to know, right, not need, but right, and our obligation to protect national security.
And U.S. intelligence agencies will now start redacting their data on COVID origin before sharing it with Congress. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
We've seen a lot of bipartisan agreement when it comes to the COVID intel bill Biden just signed, as well as about China more broadly. So what's it like cooperating on the issue? NTD's Steve Lance sat down with Congressman Dan Newhouse of Washington to find out.
Congressman Dan Newhouse, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Good to be here with you.
Congressman, President Biden just signing into law the declassifying of information regarding the origins of COVID-19, something you've been talking about for quite a long time. How big of a deal is this?
Well, I think, it's always important to have transparency, accountability, particularly for something that has impacted not just our country, but the entire world to the extent that it has. Everybody has been impacted by this, the millions of people who've lost their lives, the economic impact, the impact of our education system, to our trading system, our supply chains. We're going to be digging ourselves out of this for much time to come. And so the more information that we have, the more that's transparent to the American people, to the world, I think is important, because it's becoming cliche, but we've got to make sure we do everything to prevent this from ever happening again.
Congressman, speaking of China, you sit on the all so important Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. Tell us, what are some of your top priorities there?
The Select Committee on our relationship with the Communist Chinese Party, I think, has the potential to be the most consequential effort that this Congress puts forward. China is our competitor. We want to be competitive with them. The two largest economies on the globe. The relationship that we have impacts every other country in the world. We want to be successful in this effort. And I think there are numerous challenges, numerous threats, I would go as far as to say, that we may not even fully appreciate, may not fully understand. And that's what I'm truly excited about learning, and I think the American people need to know as well. To say that, and I mean this in every positive way possible, but we are ignorant of the challenges that we are facing from China. And one of the things, my priorities, is, as you probably know, is to prevent the Communist Chinese Party and entities affiliated with them from purchasing agricultural assets in the United States of America, to prevent them from gaining a foothold on a particularly important link in our food supply chain.
You mentioned so many things. The CCP threat is truly multifaceted. It's coming from all different directions. And I'm just curious, there's actually quite a bit of, you said it could be the most consequential group that's been formed on Capitol Hill. It's very bipartisan right now. Is it refreshing to be working in a committee where both Republicans and Democrats can see eye to eye?
In my short time in Congress, I'm now in my 5th term, many people long for the good old days, if there ever were any, where people could work together in a bipartisan way. I see this as something that unites Republicans and Democrats as Americans. It truly does. And the members of this panel are, I think, serious-minded individuals that truly want to accomplish some good things for our country through this effort. So, yeah, it heartens me to be a part of this. It truly does. And I think that we can not only hopefully uncover and learn some very important things, but in the meantime, while we're doing that, help other people understand that this is a better way for us to govern together.
Congressman, you mentioned the agriculture aspect of the CCP eyeing our farmland. You yourself are a farmer. I'd like to ask you, every 5 years or so, there's a bill that comes up in Congress, a farming bill. You've been traveling across the state, your state of Washington. What are you hearing from farmers? What do they need?
2023, you're right. The Farm Bill expires in September. We renew it every 5 years. This is one of those must-pass pieces of legislation. And our chairman of the Agriculture Committee, G.T. Thompson from Pennsylvania, has been doing a great job of getting out throughout the country, talking to producers and growers, people involved in agriculture, to learn, okay, what is it you need to be included in the Farm Bill so that our industry can continue to be strong and successful. And I'm doing the same thing in my district as well. I've joined GT, Mr. Thompson, in a couple venues around the country, but I've also taken this effort to my district. I spent all last week, had 5 different Farm Bill meetings with constituents, and I'm going to continue to do that. And the things that I'm hearing, margins are tight in agricultural business. They truly are. Costs of every input are high. Prices received, in many cases, are low. Doesn't leave any room for error. And so those things that will impact a person's ability to be successful, the safety net, the crop insurance, those things that like research, that keep us on the cutting edge so we can be competitive, the marketing programs that are within the Farm Bill, all of these things are building blocks to making sure that we have, as much as possible, the opportunities for our producers to be successful. And that's so key, because it's not only a food security thing, because we all want to eat 3 times a day, but it's a national security issue to have a strong agricultural sector.
Congressman Dan Newhouse, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. It's good to be with you.
Senator Josh Hawley is introducing a bill to end normal trade relations between China and the United States. The bill to revoke the current trade relations within 2 years, if passed, would allow the U.S. to put higher tariffs on Chinese imports, and the president could increase tax rates even more on current imports. Hawley's bill comes as the Biden administration is under pressure by Republicans to push back against the Chinese Communist Party. During the last administration, former President Trump frequently said that China is taking advantage of the U.S. The U.S. trade deficit with China was more than $285 billion in 2020. President Biden agrees to block a controversial D.C. crime bill. This is the latest move indicating that Biden might take a more moderate path ahead of the 2024 presidential elections. NTD's Arian Pazdar has more.
On Monday, President Biden signed a bipartisan resolution to block a D.C. crime bill. He previously pledged to sign it, saying, "I don't support some of the changes D.C. Council put forward over the mayor's objections, such as lowering penalties for carjackings." Last week, the Biden administration said it's approving a huge oil drilling project in Alaska called the Willow Project. Some say he approved the Willow Project to come off as more moderate. A political science professor told The New Yorker that Joe Biden is a realist about what it will take to win re-election in 2024 for him or any other Democrat. However, the White House later said President Biden simply wasn't able to block the Willow Project.
The president kept his word when where he can by law, right? That is important to note. And as the Interior Department said, some of the company's leases are decades old, granted by prior administrations. The company has a legal right to those leases. The department's options are limited when there are legal contracts.
However, the president on Monday also issued his first veto. Biden turned down a Republican-authored measure that would ban making ESG investments using retirement funds. ESG stands for Environmental Social Governance. The Kentucky Republican Party responded to the veto, saying Biden pretends to be a moderate, but he'll always side with those pushing to politicize everything, including retirement accounts. Biden defended the veto, saying ESG investments are based on risk factors MAGA Republicans don't like. Reporting by Arian Pazdar, NTD News.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.